Hello my friends. What I have here are blackberries that I planted a year ago, and they're kind of getting out of control, and they're growing really well. They're fruiting and they're blossoming at the same time. This is Florida, so they don't really kind of know winter, but I laid this cane up in the little tree here, get it off the ground. But the problem that I have, you can see here, they're just laying and the tips are wanting to root. Here's the one that's rooted and real healthy, and they need some help here. And that one's rooted too. It's also in berry. I need to get them off the ground. All that I'm doing is feeding the birds and the squirrels. So they like full sun. They'll tolerate some shade. Too much shade, they won't fruit. Here's where I put another berry, and it's too much shade, and you can see it's reaching out. It's still growing, and right here this tip is rooted. Berries are nice size. However, I think before that gets fully ripened, the squirrel or birds will get it. So the solution is get it up on a trellis, and what I'm going to do is show you how to build a 2-wire trellis with H-posts on the end. The end post to this trellis is going to be an H-post, and the H-post will hold the wires tight. It'll keep the end post from leaning inward from the weight. So the end post, what I'm using is foot length, and it has to go in 2 foot deep. So we're going to start with the very end. I'm going to run this, since it's just for these blackberries, I'm going to run the length about 40 foot. A 2-wire trellis is good for 600 plus feet in length. On my digger, I have marked the depths. There's 1.5 feet, there's 2 foot. The end posts should be 2 foot deep, and the posts that are running in the stringer, they can be 1.5 feet, but since all my posts are 8 foot, I'm going to try to go 2 foot deep. Once the end post is put in, the second one that's going to make the H has to be measured. Okay, that is 2 foot deep. These posts are landscape posts. They're 8 foot in length, and not 6 foot. You see, I'm not 6 foot. What I did was I came down about 6 inches. I drilled a 3/8 inch hole, and that hole is going to take a pin. The pin is going to be what holds the horizontal rail. And the pin, I purchased a 2 foot long 3/8 inch rebar, cut it into 4 pieces, and that's what I need, is 4 lengths, 6 inches long. This post, these are very economical. They're under $4 each. So this trellis being 40 foot long, I'm using 7 posts. So that's less than $28 for the post. Okay, the horizontal post, it's 8 foot. It's the same landscape timber. Okay, I'm sighting my line, and this will determine the second post. There's my 2-foot mark. That hit it. Here's the pins I'll be using. These are 3/8 inch rebar, $1.82 for a 2-foot length. Okay, I'm going to start these in the holes. I drilled a 3/8 inch hole, so it's a snug fit, and I'm driving just enough that I can flex that and get the horizontal bar started on there. There's my second hand. Okay, I left just a little tip sticking out. This side I'm going to leave about 3/4 of an inch sticking out, and there's a reason for that. There will be a wire that will help support. Okay, you can see right here. That's sticking out maybe 3/4 inch to an inch. And this one could be driven all the way in. I'm leaving it up. Here I'm going to repeat the same process as I did on the first one. Put the first post in, laid my horizontal spreader, and this will set the position for the second post. Then I'll just clear out my mulch. And again, on the H post, the ends need to be in 2 foot deep. And again, this one's pre-drilled. Now I'll keep that spreader there. That will hold the 8-foot distance while I backfill. I can straighten it after the dirt's in. Again, this is 3/8 inch rod, and I drilled a 3/8 hole. Now, the rebar rods, you see they're textured, so that's why they have to be pounded in, and they do hold much better having those ridges. Okay, lining them up right there. Okay, I'm leaving about 3/4 inch exposed. That's to hold the top wire. And again, I left about 3/4 inch sticking out there also. You can see here the pin, and there's a pin on the other post on this side. And when I string the wires across between the 2 H posts or end posts, it's going to have a tendency to pull inward. So I have to do diagonal bracing to resist that from pulling in. So what is needed then is a wire that runs at a diagonal from this corner down. That'll have a force pushing in the opposite direction of the wire that's going to be on the top. Now, the wire that should be used should be a 9 gauge that's going to be at the diagonal. And the top wire for this 2-wire trellis should also be the 9 gauge. Then 2 feet below is a second wire, so I'm using a 2-wire system on here. That lower wire can be an 11 gauge, so it's a smaller or lighter gauge wire. But the top one is the one that will hold most of the weight, and it'll also be the one that is under that extreme tension. That bird doesn't like me being here. Okay, now the vertical post that goes in between the 2 end posts, they can be spaced 20 to 24 feet apart. Now my 2 H posts are 22 inches apart, so I'm not going to put a center post. That center post would be the same as one of these. It does not have to be 2 foot deep. It could be 1.5 foot deep. All the weight is in a downward direction for that. But if I were using all pre-cut 8-foot lengths, I would go down to 2 foot to keep all the heights at 6 foot. Okay, so next I'm going to put that diagonal guy wire in. And this is the 9 gauge, and that's a 50-foot spool. This is going to need almost 20 feet on each side for the diagonals, or one diagonal this way. Okay, let me say something about the staples. I'm coming in here. Okay, you can see here the staple, as how the ends are cut, and you see they're tapered one way. So when you drive this in, this forward staple will have a tendency to push that direction. This one will go this way. Now when I run it into the wood, I'm going to, if this were the grain, I won't follow the grain. I'll put it at an angle, and I'll also angle it so that it'll push it further away. If you run both in the same grain, it might have a tendency to split. If that happens, the staple won't hold, or could come out. Okay, I'm starting at the top, and I'm going to put a staple in. Okay, once that's in, I'm going to bend that end . That'll keep the wire from sliding out of that staple. Okay, now I'm going to take this down to the other side, to the bottom, at a diagonal. Okay, here we have to go near the bottom, and this is going to require more than one staple. Now this is going to go to the other end at the top, and then it'll be secured. This one needs cut. This is where these pliers come in handy. This has the better leverage than this cutter, so I use this side. This is where my audio quit on the video. So what I'm using here is a pressure treated
piece of wood that's 2 foot long. You could use pipe or PVC, something like that. Now I'm twisting this to put tension onto that diagonal, and I'll continue wrapping until I get it to the tension that I want. Now this can be secured to the post or the top rail, and you could possibly nail that into that position. Time you might find that the top wire slacks, and you can retighten that to get it to the proper tension. Here I'm securing the second lines, and this should be 2 foot down below the top wire. And in my situation, I am going to run a double line between or around both of the posts. Here you have the basic 2-wire system finished. It's already under tension, and you can see down in here I put 2 wires, 2 cables, and the purpose of that is, since I'm going to use this for my blackberries, the canes are going to come up between the 2 cables, and that'll support them. And when they do reach the top, I'll tie them to the top wire, and this will encourage lateral growth from the blackberries. So the only thing left for me to do is to transplant the blackberries to the underneath the trellis, and you can see, you might be wondering why I did that to the end posts. Well, I got solar lights that are going to go on the ends, so I'm just dressing that up. A lot of advantages to this. It's very economical, it's very easy to build. Material cost under $30 to $40 max for this, even if you had to buy everything. Like I used salvage wire there, cables from the internet companies. The basic 2-wire trellis system, each post on both ends. Thanks for watching, my friends. Bye-bye.